Hello besties, today I want to do something a little different and talk about why starting content creation was the best and worst decision I ever made. I'm also going to take you through like a little desk tour and show you how I film my content and that it does not have to be expensive to get started. Now I use a little bit more higher end stuff, like I'm recording on my Sony ZV-E10, but that's just as of last month. For the longest time, all I had was my Samsung Galaxy S24. Shout out to all my Android girlies. And the reason I want to make this video is because I don't believe in an oversaturated space. I think it is really important, especially when it comes to nail safety, to get as many creators talking about it as possible. But I also want to share the realities of this and that it's A, not as lucrative as people think it is, and B, you really have to love what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to burn out extremely quick. So let's start with the negative. Why I very often regret getting into content creation. And of course, that is the hate. No one prepares you for the amount of hate that you are going to get. I don't care how many videos you've seen on how people deal with hate and hate comments and how many people say they don't care and it doesn't affect them and they're completely unbothered. But internet hate will always bother you unless you're a complete sociopath. And I don't think it gets talked about enough, like the real mental toll that that has on you. Now, of course, you do grow past it and get used to it. And I think it makes it extra hard when you come on the internet with good intentions. You feel like you have something to share. You want to share that information with people, or you want to share your life, you know, whatever it is. And you think like, I'm not doing anything malicious. Nothing I'm doing is with malicious intent. So everyone's going to love me, right? Wrong. There are some miserable people on this here internet and they will find you at some point. So that's one reason why this stuff really sucks. When I started getting my first hate comments and then a whole hate video made about me, I barely slept that night. And I am someone that is very mentally healthy and I consider myself very mentally resilient and strong, and it still deeply affected me. So just prepare yourself for that. It's not for everyone, especially if you're speaking on anything that could be considered remotely controversial. And trust me, no matter what it is, somebody will consider it controversial. The second thing is time. Now, there are a lot of people that start creating content just to make an extra income. Maybe they're like a stay-at-home mom or something. But a lot of people start creating content with a full-time job, as is my case. And it is dang near impossible to manage filming, editing, prepping, especially when you're doing something as time consuming as nail content, because then you also have to do your nails. And editing really is like the worst part of the whole process. I've gotten pretty good at it it used to take me like 4 hours to edit a simple 10-minute video, and now I could do it in like maybe 1. So it helps a lot. As you go on, you will get better at editing, but it's still really, really time consuming to do the whole process. And at first, when you don't have like a dedicated setup like I do now, when I first started, I was literally doing this in my living room on like a pop-up desk. So I had to put up that table and get all my supplies out and get my filming equipment every single time I was going to film. Whereas now that I have a dedicated space, I can literally just sit down, turn on my lights, get my camera going and start blabbing. But it did take me a very long time to get here, because as I said, I'm a working mom. I have a very, very middle class income, and it took me a very long time to build up all the stuff that I have now. Last but not least, the biggest negative is that this is unpaid. Like, people are going to accuse you of doing things for attention or for the money or whatever. But the reality is you really don't make any. When you start making content, you have to do this because you love it. It could take years for you to see any actual income. On YouTube, it's really, really hard to build a platform. You need 4,000 watch hours, which I hit quite a bit ago. And so now I am monetized, but I literally make like 100 to, I think the most was like almost $200 a month. That doesn't even begin to cover the amount of hours that you are going to have to pour into this. So when you do the math, you're making like 5 cents per hour. So if you are getting into this because you want this to be your full time and you're expecting to like become this rich influencer, don't. Is that a possibility? Yeah, a lot of it is luck, but I set my expectations very low. I didn't ever even intend to get monetized. I came on here because I had a message, I had a mission, and I truly love doing this. But if you don't and you do expect to see like some return on investment, you're going to be severely disappointed. Because all we see is like this influencer culture with like the designer stuff and the mansions and whatever, people have this misconception that you can start making content and you're immediately going to make money, and that is very far from the truth. On TikTok, it's even harder. You need to get like 10,000 followers and the pay per views is super, super low. So unless you start shilling out products, you're not going to make any money. And because I have always sucked at sales, I am not a salesperson, and so I suck at selling, so I make no money. I rely solely on AdSense on YouTube, and I'm close to the Creator Rewards program, but even then I will probably see pennies on the dollar for the amount of work that I put in. Okay, now enough of the negative. There are some really great things that I have learned from starting content creation that I am really grateful for and were kind of unexpected. So first off, I think is eloquence. I have always hated being on camera. I've always preferred being behind the camera. I never took selfies. I barely have pictures of myself. So this was quite a big shock. And when I first started this, I had like kind of crafted this whole other persona where if you go back and look at my older content, you'll see that like I'm speaking very softly, very slowly, and I'm trying to go for like this calm vibe.
Despite my extensive research, I'm not a chemist, so please do your own research on the matter and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about any of it.
I look back at that now and I just cringe so hard because I'm like, who is this? Like, obviously I'm loud, I'm out there. Not me, I am not like the calm voice type. But for whatever reason, like I just wasn't comfortable being on camera. So that's kind of like what I defaulted to. In fact, my first few videos, I didn't even show my face at all. I thought I could just get away with doing all of this faceless. You can't. Sure, there are some faceless accounts that get decent views and monetized, but that is definitely not the majority. People want to see your face. People want to see your personality. People want to see who you really are. So if you come on here with a persona, it's not going to last very long. But that is one thing I think we all do when we start out because we're just not comfortable. And as time went on and I did more and more videos, I got so comfortable with being on camera that I can now just sit here and talk. And that's another very important skill that content creation has given me, and that is eloquence. I used to say and all the time, so I was constantly having to edit them out because I do not script my videos. I don't have a teleprompter, so it just looks weird when you're like looking everywhere but the camera. And at first that was really difficult because I was like every 2 seconds. But as time went on, I can now just sit here with very minimal edits. Like I'll still take some pauses here and there, but I can now just sit here with very minimal edits and just blurt out what I want to say and get the message out without too many pauses or ums or uhs. So content creation has just really improved my regular everyday speech and eloquence. So I'm really grateful for that. And I was not expecting it to get so easy so fast. Just get in front of a camera and get out what you want to say. Last but not least, and this one is unexpected because I just talked about how hard dealing with the hate was, but making content gives you like this unreal level of confidence. And again, you would think it's the opposite. But after you've gone through the hate period where it's like really affecting you, after that comes the truly unbothered period. It's almost like you kind of grow calloused. You work a lot with your hands and at first it really hurts, but then they start getting callous and then it doesn't hurt anymore. That's kind of what happens when you start making content. And so even though at first it really hurts, like when people say you have big teeth or your facial symmetry is off. And yes, I got a comment saying that. Or that you look angry all the time. It's actually had the complete opposite effect because after a point, you truly just stop caring and you get really confident and you just come on the camera and you say what you want to say. And you're like, you know what? I am amazing and I don't care what these people have to say because I know that I'm doing the right thing here. And once you learn and you like truly get it ingrained in your head that there are just some miserable people out here that are going to hate you no matter what you do, it becomes really easy to just get in front of the camera, get your message out, and not care how you look or what people are going to say about you. And that is a level of confidence that has actually translated into my regular everyday life to where I just kind of move through the world a little differently. And I'm very grateful to content creation for that. And then lastly is just the skills that content creation gives you. Like I had never owned a camera. I still have issues kind of fiddling around with it, as you guys can tell from my other videos. But I have learned so much about lighting, cameras, videography, camera settings, ISO, aperture, all these other terms that I never expected to learn. And then of course, video editing. These are all really important life skills as our world transitions to be more technology dependent. And so if you're starting out and all of this stuff is super confusing and you're terrified because you're like, how am I going to learn all of this? Trust me, you will. It comes little by little. Your first videos might suck, the quality might be terrible, the audio is gonna be horrid. We've all been there, but it gets better with time. And it's honestly amazing looking back at your own progress and seeing like, wow, my first videos were garbage and the stuff that I put out is now quality and it only gets better and better. So that's really exciting to see. And again, just gives you so many important skills that translate to everyday life. Oh, and then one more thing, content creation has given me the opportunity to really sit down and just be with myself. Before this, I was rarely taking time for myself. Like I said, I have a billion things going on. On top of my full-time job, I also run other things. I have side gigs, I have my son, and it's just really hard to balance everything and find time for self-care. But now with content creation, I finally have forced myself to sit down and take time to do the things that I enjoy doing. And I think it's just made me a happier person overall. I'm very lucky that my husband is supportive and that I also have amazing parents that help me out. And so now that my kiddo is in school, it becomes a lot easier to sit down and film and edit and do what I have to do. And not everyone has that support system, but it's still possible to do it. A lot of times I literally film with my child present and I just like cut out those blurbs, and sometimes I have to just do a voiceover later because he was just talking too much. Sometimes you'll see his little hands in my video. Some of the stuff he says is really cute and sometimes I'll just leave it in. But don't let being a parent or having kids around stop you from creating content, because at the end of the day, most people really don't care if they see a kid running in the background or they hear, you know, a child's laughter or something like that. We're all just out here trying to make it. No one's gonna judge you. So just go ahead and film the dang thing. Noise canceling mics work wonders. And speaking of mics, let's get into the stuff that I use to film.